Okay, if you're watching this, that means it worked. These are all the parts for this drawer. This is the drawer front. You can see here I kind of got a decent pattern in the board that I selected for this. So this is pretty much center. As much as it could be, this is not an equal, thing here. And so this relief cut here is for the thickness of the drawer slides that are going in. And then the sides are mortised in, and I did one giant dovetail here. So this is kind of like how traditional drawers go together without the dovetail. A lot of people do multiple dovetails. I went over this in a short yesterday. You only need dovetails if you're not using mechanical hardware. I'm using full extension drawer hardware. So you could pin nail it together with a butt joint and a rebate or something. It would be fine. I like to do the one big, large dovetail. Dovetails exist for drawer front construction because back in the old days, even when I was a kid, we had old furniture. And I pulled drawers off from time to time. And you'll see them even now sometimes. You'll go to buy an old piece of furniture that doesn't have mechanical hardware and there's drawer fronts missing. That's because in the old days, before there was mechanical hardware, expansion and contraction, it's just the drawer is a box that fits in an opening in a chest of drawers, let's say. Well, it can get stuck, and you got to pull on it, and you rip the front right off the drawer. When you put dovetails here, you can't rip it off because that becomes a mechanical fastening. I'll show you. So what you have here is you have a drawer side that has a groove to accept the bottom, and then a groove to accept the back. All right. The back of the drawer sits on top of the drawer bottom. Traditionally, that's the way to do it. What I've done here on this is there's a dado here, and that's going to accept the drawer bottom. You see it stops right there. So we're going to go ahead and tap the two sides into place. Give you guys kind of a view of this. Now I'm going to have to take all this apart again so that I can sand the parts. I know this works. I've done it already. You want it nice and snug. Alright, so that's one. The other side in there. I've done this several times, so it's getting easier. And you want to avoid that as much as possible. You want to keep a nice snug fit. Being right-handed, I'm spinning this around a little bit. I'm tapping on this for obvious reasons, so I don't screw up a bunch of elephant prints. Alright, nice and flush. This should fit in here. Now this bottom here is about 3/8 of an inch thick. Again, traditionally with drawers, what you'll see is that they'll mill this down to about a 1/2 inch. This is thicker. I think I made these about just under 5/8 of an inch thick. This is 15/16 of an inch thick. It's about 3/8 thick. It's a large drawer. I wanted it to be substantial. Good. Now, see if we can get this back to slide in. This knot here, we'll put that at the back. My first time doing this. Let's see. Test this with a square. Alright, so I'd have to shorten this back panel a hair. With just a hair out of square. So I might take about 1/16 of an inch off the length of this board right here. But that's your construction, okay? Now, again, what you see here is this large dovetail. So that'll prevent it from pulling out. But typically, what I would add to that is I might put a couple pin nails, or I'll drill through and I'll put a dowel in there, you know, or just drill in and put a screw. That's perfectly fine. And then on the bottom here, you have your construction, you can see. So, you know, the bottom slides in here. Now you'd pin this, right? When I say pin, I mean with a nail gun or little finish nails. Put a couple nails in here just to hold that together, and you can glue that. And then you'll see here what's going on here. So usually people just put a few pin nails. What I like to do here is I'll pre-drill, and I'll put 2 or 3 screws. One is really enough, but here I'll probably put 2 or 3 screws because it's kind of long, and then that'll be perfect. So now all these parts now, I have to take it apart, and then I have to sand all these parts. I'll do it with a machine. Then I will wet the parts down, and then I will hand sand them with 180 grit with a block. And then I will put it together, and I'll knock down all the corners at that time, and then it's ready for finish. So that's my method for making a drawer. All right, and this is pretty common for me, the one big, again, I can do hand-cut dovetails. I could take the time to do that, but yeah, I have to charge for that time, and I'm not charging enough on this project. So I don't mean to keep bringing that up. He's cool. But that's the thing. When I do drawers, often I do this because I'm always using mechanical hardware. So it's going to be a full extension, soft close drawer hardware. So you don't need to go crazy with this. Again, I could have just nailed that and it would have been fine. But I like it to look kind of cool. I want to do something a little bit different. So that's all. These are kind of like the parts, the way you would do any traditional drawer, whether you're doing a butt joint here and a rabbet with nails or screws, or you're dovetailing it. That's a whole other thing. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm just talking about as far as like the way the sides fit to the front, the way the bottom fits into a groove, a dado, the way the back sits atop of the bottom like this, like you see here, and then you put a couple screws in here or nails. And traditionally it was nails. I've worked on a lot of vintage furniture. I've repaired furniture worth a lot of money. There's a place up the street here called East Meets West on La Brea. I've known those guys for 30 years. And I've repaired a lot of furniture going back to the 18th century. And you'll see, like, especially in the 19th century, but you'll see nails that have popped out and start scratching the furniture. So I'll replace it. And oftentimes what I'll do with an old piece is I'll replace it with a slot head screw, like an old brass screw, so it looks kind of old and cool. And it's just something I like to do. Anyhow, let me sand these parts out, get this drawer together, fit it in the little cabinet. And I got one more thing to make, and after that I'm on to finish for this project. So but look out, and no drawer hardware, by the way. So this is going to fit in this case, this cabinet, and underneath it's just a big open spot. So you'll be able to reach in and just grab the bottom of this drawer, and your fingers will catch, and you'll be able to open this drawer like that. So I don't have to muddy up the look. Keep in mind too, this is a center cabinet, and there's sliding doors that reveal a cabinet over here and a cabinet over there. And that door will slide right in front of us, so I can't have hardware on here anyhow. It's going to be very clean looking. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Maybe you got something out of it. And that's it. Have a good day. Be kind to one another. And, you know, I'll catch you in the next one.